Traders Corner is proudly brought to you by IG, the specialists in CFD trading.
Welcome back. You're watching the second part of our 5th birthday special. As you may have heard by now, Traders Corner started the show 5 years ago. It was the 17th of August 2009. That was an incredible year for markets. And joining me, as always, is Garth McKenzie, founder and editor of Traders Corner. Garth, 2009 was, I suppose it was a seminal year for markets because we had the crash and then we started to build the rally that we've actually still enjoyed now. And it was the year that you started the show. It was the year also that you left corporate life. I don't know if you had a bit of a midlife crisis then, or if it was just an urge to go out on your own.
Yeah, it was a bit of both. You know, before this, I'd been running the derivatives trading desk at BOE Stockbrokers, which eventually got folded into the Nedbank stable. And I'd run the derivatives trading desk there from 2003 until 2009. And it was a good stint, but after the financial crisis and the market crash, I felt it was a nice time of my career to leave and do something entrepreneurial. I'd always wanted to do something entrepreneurial.
Quite a brave time because there was so much uncertainty. I mean, we didn't know if anything would still be around. I mean, it was that panicky, as I recall.
It was very panicky. But you know, my feeling at the time was that we had seen a lot of our derivatives clients lose a lot of money at that stage through the market crash. I could tell you stories that'll make your hair stand up. and I just sort of thought the business that I'd spent the previous 7 years building had really taken a massive hit. And that to me sort of signaled a logical time to take the next step in my career and do something entrepreneurial. I always figured if I stuck around in the corporate world, it would be a rebuilding process anyway. So if I'm going to be rebuilding it for Nedbank, why not go out and build something for myself and start something entrepreneurial? And that was when I decided to exit the corporate world and start the concept of Traders Corner in South Africa.
But it wasn't just for yourself, because to a large extent this show has been an educational show, and for me as much as anyone else out there. So it wasn't just your own, wanting to go on your own, otherwise you wouldn't have set up the website and what we do every week.
No, that's right. I mean, there were multiple motivations for wanting to start this show and for the whole concept around Traders Corner. I mean, my mission statement and vision with Traders Corner is promoting proper trading principles. And that's really what we do here on the show every week. It is educational, as you say, but it's also, we trade with real money and we donate the profits at the end of the year to charity. So there is an educational element to it. There was also, I felt, a need in the financial media to address short-term traders, because there's nothing, or there wasn't anything at the time really targeting short-term traders. All you saw on the mainstream financial media was all around investing and what have you. And investing and trading are actually very different disciplines. And I thought at the time there's a gap in the market to actually form a show that focuses specifically on trading, but also to teach people the right way to trade, the disciplines, the risk management, and the proper trading principles. And that's what we've strived to try and achieve on this show and on my website, traderscorner.co.za. And I like to think we've actually done quite well at achieving that. And I think we have helped a lot of traders to become more proficient and more sustainable over the last 5 years.
I hope so. You started running the courses as well. And I mean, you talk about the difference between trading and investing. And unfortunately, it can get very blurry. And then you apply sort of investment principles to trading and vice versa. And then that's when it comes a bit unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% right. Very often if you apply long-term investing principles to your short-term trading, it doesn't really work. And you need to be careful not to muddy the waters between the two. So on this show, we really do focus on the short-term trading side of things and teach people, but using real-life examples with real money, how to trade successfully for your own account.
Well, you mentioned that you start every year with 250,000 Rand. That is your cash entirely. We don't put any money into the show. We're sponsored by IG Markets, but that amount of money is yours. How much have we actually given to charity since we started? Because the profits we make, we give to charity at the end of the year.
That's right. We give it to them at the end of each year. It's some good to come out of a very capitalist sort of endeavor. We do give the profits to charity at the end of each year. So we start with 250,000 Rand at the beginning of each year, and then what we've donated so far to charity after tax has been 389,000 Rand.
Sure.
That was to the end of 2013. We've got nearly another 100,000 Rand in the pot this year So I guess we're getting close to R500,000 that we would have donated to charity since the initiation of this show 5 years ago.
And I mean, yeah, that is an amazing figure actually when you add it all together, because I think it was the second year that we did the show. That was a bit of a hairy year. 2010 wasn't easy at all, and next week we're going to look at some years that were bad, some that were good, the trades that went well and the trades that didn't go well.
Yeah.
And I know there were probably a few times when you thought, why am I doing this? You know, things aren't going right, and I'm sitting there every week in front of people showing my bum trades.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, you've seen it when we're not on the set. You've seen me come in here with a long face sometimes. And that's true. 2010 and 2011 were very difficult years. And definitely there were times where I sort of thought, you know, felt a bit despondent. But you've got to just keep on pressing on and know that the principles that we apply on this show do work. But yeah, absolutely. You know, it's hard enough when you trade your own money and you go through a rough patch. To have to face yourself, but to have to come on TV in front of a national audience every week and face all of them, it's even worse. But you know, that also keeps me honest, and it also forces me to stick to the disciplines that we preach on this show.
Well, and clearly it does work. So the discipline that is, as you say, instrumental to the whole trading philosophy that this show espouses has actually kept us in the money, because you have to come and stand in front of everyone, you've got to stick to what you're telling people. Otherwise, and there are many times when, hey, you're probably tempted not to exercise a stop loss. That it actually, you could have lost a lot more money, maybe made a lot more money, but I think ultimately you would have come out worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the only thing worse than losing money on a trade here would be ignoring my rules and losing a lot more money on a trade. So it does kind of keep me honest. It forces me to stick to the disciplines, and in a way that's a really good thing. And I think that discipline, I mean, if we have to sum it up in one word, what has made this show successful? It's discipline. We have been incredibly disciplined with the position sizing methodology that we use, with the risk management, the percentage of capital that we're willing to risk on individual trades. All of those things, you know, encapsulate discipline.
And I suppose what I was trying to get at in my muddled way was 2010, 2011 were bad years, but overall they've been good years. And so even though you have bad patches, if you stick to a certain strategy or a certain set of principles, you can actually build. And I mean, Garth, how's the portfolio done against the All-Share Index over the period that we've been running the portfolios?
Well, so from the 17th of June 2009 when we started, the All-Share Index is up about 107% since then. And our portfolio is up well over 200% over that time. So we've pretty much doubled the performance of the All-Share Index over that time, which is great. But I think one also needs to keep in mind and not lose sight of the fact that this has actually been a bull market, and it's a lot easier to trade a bull market by and large. So I think the big test for me is still going to come at some point if we go into a bearish market phase, to see, you know, how well we do then. So, you know, I don't want to blow my trumpet too loud because it is a lot easier in a bull market than in a bear market.
Well, although, I mean, for a long time in this market, it didn't feel like it was a bull market. There are many times when it's felt the mood has been sour, even though the market was kind of making money at the time. So as we show every week, with hindsight, it's very easy to plot things, but when you're in it, who knows what's going to come around next week.
That's it.
Garth, if you had to give any advice to people who want to start trading, what would it be?
I think if you're a start-out trader, my first advice to you would be understand that this is not a get-rich-quick overnight thing. So my advice would be, if you're going to start out trading, approach it like this. Understand that your first 5 years you need to treat as learning. And you need to dedicate the time and the effort and the money to that pursuit of learning. You know, trading is a funny profession. It's not like being a doctor or a lawyer or a chartered accountant or an architect, where you can go to university and, you know, after 6 or 7 years you come out with a qualification and a profession. It's different. Trading is very much an on-the-job thing. So but at the same time, it still requires the time and the effort and the investment that any other profession would require. So I think understand that. Dedicate your first 5 years to the pursuit of learning and decide how much money you're willing to throw at that learning thing.
I mean, is this money that you actually almost have to be prepared to say goodbye to, would you say?
I think in some respects, yes. You need to be willing to risk that money. And you know, the unfortunate reality is that this profession does incur school fees. It's not school fees like you pay to your university when you go and get a normal profession, but the market ultimately, you know, will charge you school fees in the pursuit of learning. No successful trader that I've ever heard of has not paid some serious school fees in the early days. So I think anybody starting out just needs to understand that. And you know, we promote proper responsible trading on this show, and in light of that, I just want to say that there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there that make trading out to be easy, make it sound like it's easy. You go on a course quickly and attend it, and you know, next week you'll be a rock star trader. That's nonsense. It doesn't work like that. That's like me saying I'm going to go and, you know, spend a day with Ernie Els, you know, showing me how to hold a golf club, and on, you know, next weekend I'll enter the $1 million. It just doesn't work that way. And trading is the same. I'm a big believer in Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. He said you need to, in any profession, you need to have invested 10,000 hours of your time to get good at something. And I think trading is no different to any other profession. It takes a lot of time and effort and investment in yourself to become proficient as a trader.
Yeah, because it's, you know, brings in psychology is one of the key elements of this whole game. The other thing is getting to know your market. And Frans de Klerk, he trades the top 40. That's his, I suppose, the market he trades the most. And you've got to get a feel for things. You've got to almost, I suppose, shares, and we've talked about this before, don't get married to your shares, treat them like one night stands to some extent, but you have to understand them, and some shares have I suppose, a certain kind of behavior, just, I suppose, it's just time and experience spent in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think there's a lot to be said for picking a certain watch list of stocks or instruments that you want to trade and becoming an expert at it. There's thousands of instruments worldwide that you could potentially trade, but it's impossible to be an expert at all of them. So pick what you can. You know, we've chosen a certain basket of South African equities that we focus on in this show, and we don't really move beyond that. And I think if you're a trader wanting to start up, do the same. You know, pick a universe that's small enough that you can become an expert at it and focus all your attention on that. And
know those stocks. I mean, we don't look at small cap shares. One reason is because they're fairly liquids, so you can get surprised on either side of the trade. So as you say, you pick together your basket of shares and play in that space.
Exactly.
Garth, do you think we could, or do you think you could repeat this performance over the next 5 years?
It's going to be, I reckon the next 5 years are going to be a lot more difficult than these previous 5 years. This last 5 years, as I said, has been a bull market. The market's been juiced up on stimulus and low interest rates. Those have been two very big drivers for equity markets globally over the last 5 years. Looking forward to the next 5 years, I think those two factors will be removed. We know that stimulus is gradually being pulled out, and interest rates are not going to stay as low as they are forever. So I think those are two very big headwinds and challenges coming up for equity markets in the next 5 years. So I'm not going to stick my neck out and say that we can definitely match this performance over the next 5 years. Obviously, I'll give it my best shot, but I do think it's going to require us to try and employ some fairly different strategies in the next 5 years to profit from a different type of market environment in the next 5 years to what we've seen in the previous 5.
But just one maybe last point to make is that there is always opportunity to be had. So even when you thought, and there were plenty of times in 2009, 2010, 2011 even, when you thought, no, the market's going to collapse or just going to go nowhere for a couple of years, and then, you know, there is always something to trade out there.
There is always. That's one of the things I really love about the stock market, is that it's the land of endless opportunities. So you're right, as long as you put yourself in the way of those opportunities and you make yourself available to trade them, there is always something to be done.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm pretty sure the next 5 years will continue to present us with many opportunities.
Yeah. Garth, we'll leave it there, and we'll continue our 5th birthday chat next week. You've been watching Traders Corner.
Traders Corner is proudly brought to you by IG, the specialists in CFD trading.